aggregate, mental aggregate, are to be noted with mindfulness. Then one's mind will be guarded with vigilant mindfulness. Even if one is not able to cultivate Kanika Samadhi, momentary concentration, and hence knowledge, if one is exercising mindfulness at the moment of mindfulness, there are these immediate benefits as given by the Buddha. That means the qualities of sati will become very obvious. The first quality of sati being the sabhava lakkhana, the natural characteristic of sati being abhilapana lakkhana sati, as is said, abhilapana lakkhana sati. That means sati has the characteristic of not floating over the surface. That means over the object of observation, like a cork thrown in the water. It will float. In the case of a stone, it will sink where it is thrown. So also, sati has the characteristic of sinking into the object, like a stone thrown into the water. So also, at the moment of hearing, one notes so that the noting mind would sink into the hearing object or object of observation, in this case the sound or whatever. Now, as the noting mind is noted in such a way as to sink into the object of observation, it does not only, the sati does not only sink into the object, but also it causes the associated mental states to sink into the object of observation. And if once the noting mind and its associated states sink into the object of observation, it will not lose sight, the noting mind will not lose sight of the object. And this is the function, rasa, of sati, as asamosa rasa. That means the function of not forgetting, not losing sight of. And this is the function of sati, as not forgetting or losing sight of the mind, body, objects which are being noted.
လာတဲ့အာယုံကြီးကိုရှိမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်ကမျက်နှာမူးနေပါပါဖိတ်ဆွဲနေပါပါတရားနဲ့တဲ့ဖြစ်နေအဲဒီခြေရတယ်ပေါ်တယ်ဒီစီအကူကဘာလို့ဒီပတ်ထားလဲတော့ပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံကြီးရှိမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်ကိုဒီရှင်းစားတဲ့နေပါလားအာယုံကြီးရှိမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်တဲ့နေပါလားဒီလိုဆိုရှိပါလား
As the noting mind is not losing sight of the object, it can only happen when the noting mind is face to face with the object of observation. Therefore, the manifestation of sati becomes obvious, namely the coming into face to face with the object of observation, visya bimukha bhava pachupatthana, the manifestation of coming into face to face with the object of observation. In order to come to this state, one must apply these two mental powers, the jhanic factor of aiming and energy, as is said, to mobilize the restraining power of mindfulness and notes in order to come to this stage, to become face to face with the object of observation, visya vimukha bhava pachupatthana. Because the noting mind is brought into face to face with the object of observation, the mind is not allowed to associate with the undesirable elements, impurities such as kilesas. And in other words, the mind is guarded or protected from these undesirable kilesas, mental taints, which can arise if one is not mindful. Therefore, this manifestation of protection also becomes obvious. Araka pachupatthana. And this is the distinctive characteristic of sati, that is protecting the mind or guarding the mind. Only when the mind has to be guarded all the time, then only it will become secure. If only one can note every arising object so as not to lose sight of it, then only there will be protection of the mind.
လွတ်လပ်တာလည်းဘုံဒီဖြစ်တာအဲ့ဒါတစ်ချက်ဘုံဒီဖြစ်တော့တစ်ချက်နောက်ချက်ကနင်းရောက်လာတယ်ဒီလိုမျိုးကစံနေတယ်ဒါကဘုရားပြေစားတာဘုရားပြေစားတာတစ်ချက်တတိဖြစ်သွားတစ်ချက်လို့ဆိုပြီးတော့လောကစံနေတယ်အဲ့ဒီစံနေတယ်ဒီနေရာတွေ
Because the mind is protected by mindfulness sati, then one's mind will become secure from the undermining elements which can arise if the mind is not protected. Therefore, areka will lead to goti, the security. Areka protection will lead to goti, security. If one goti, no? And then to vimukti, that is freedom, and freedom to santi, peace. With every freedom, there will be every moment of freedom will lead to every moment of santi, peace. And this is quite obvious, and this is very pragmatic. So, with one moment of mindfulness, there will be a moment of security, and a moment of freedom, and a moment of peace. In this way, it has been given in the text as Satiya Patikanando, Jina Di Papake Akusale Dhamme. That means when one yogi who practices mindfulness of every arising and grasping all the objects as they arise is bound to win over the undermining subversive kilesas. Also, it is said in local saying that with just one thing, namely sati, one can win over all kilesas. This is winning over yourself. This is what this is in accordance with what King Ashok has said, Dhamma Vijaya, Dhamma victory. It is important that everybody must win over oneself. Everybody is, it is necessary for everybody to be able to win over oneself, over himself or herself. In this connection, there was an instance, a little episode during the Buddha's time. Once King Kosala approached the enlightened one and said this to the Buddha: Venerable Sir, some are, especially the kings, are protected or guarded by huge divisions of army, brigades of army. We call this 4 kinds of brigades, such as elephant brigade and horse brigade and so on, or infantry. However much they are guarded, this is just external protection. This is not internal protection. We lack internal protection. The reason is that internally there are these shortcomings, namely kaya ducharitas, physical immoralities, vachi ducharita, verbal immoralities, and mano ducharita, mental unwholesomeness. All these things are not protected. Only when they are protected, if there is no protection of these things, then there will be no self-protection. There will be only external protection. So it becomes necessary to protect with mindfulness, in order that there will not happen such things like the physical, verbal, mental unwholesomeness, ducharitas. It is necessary to protect oneself in this way. And he said that he is convinced about this, that one must practice self-protection in order to protect oneself from these physical, verbal, mental unwholesomeness. To this, the Buddha supported. The Buddha supported his view, saying that one must protect oneself with the right method, so that one is protected from physical, verbal, mental unwholesomeness. And mindfulness is the effective means of protection. Whoever transgresses by way of unwholesome deeds, ducharitas, will lower themselves will lower their status, will become ignoble. Even if they say they love themselves, it does not amount to loving themselves or caring themselves. One will become one's own enemy. Just like if one has an enemy, one will not wish for the welfare of that person. So also, if one becomes one's own enemy, one will not wish for one's own welfare. That means one is not loving oneself, although one says one loves oneself. Now, conversely, if one is free from the 10 debaucheries, unwholesome deeds, with the correct method, even if one says one does not love oneself, it amounts to loving oneself. Just like one will become one's own friend. If one has a friend, one will wish for the welfare of that friend. So also, when one becomes one's own friend, one will wish for the welfare of oneself. And this was also said to the Buddha by King Kosala, and to this the Buddha agreed. Whoever practices Satipatthana Bhavana in accordance with the expression guarding the mind with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, one's mind is protected with vigilant mindfulness, and this is self-protection. And as much as one is exercising this self-protection with this method, one is said to be protected from these debaucheries, unwholesomeness. In this way, since one becomes one's own friend, one will wish for the welfare of oneself, and in this way, one becomes one's own friend, the genuine friend. In this way, one protects oneself with mindfulness and sharpening one's own self-protection. One's mind will fall calm and collected on the object of observation as one exercises mindfulness, giving rise to Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration by and by. In this way there will be no distraction of the mind, no scattering of the mind. There will be more and more security, more and more protection, leading to more security and freedom from the bondage of these kilesas, and achieve peace. In this way, developing this Khanika Samadhi, one can note precisely at the moment of hearing this rupa, material aggregate, rupa kaya, nama kaya, material aggregate, mental aggregate, comprehending them, noting and knowing them, comprehending the cause and the effect, and the universal marks of impermanence and so on. Knowing things in their true nature as they exist, as rupa aggregate, nama aggregate. There will be no wrong views, deities. Deities will be overcome, especially Sakaya deity, the distorted view of individuality. Once knowledge arises, Sakaya deity will be overcome. Seeing the truth, there will be no wrong understanding. There will be no raga, craving. There will be no aversion. There will be no ignorance, avijja. There will be no domanassa, mental distress. It is quite obvious. That's all for today.